Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Let's Talk Automotive, episode 36. And in tonight's show, we have the latest news.
And then we're going to have a look at the review that Vish did on the Kawasaki ZH2.
Our guest tonight is Wynand van Vuuren from King Price.
And then it's your favorite part of the evening, game time.
Shame time.
Shame time.
In How Things Work tonight, we find out more about rotary engines.
And then it is my favorite part of the evening, Tappet of the week, and we got a goodie.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Let's Talk Automotive. So Peter Fanie, it's been quite a week. We had the pleasure of having the Kawasaki ZH2 here at the studio, and it was a beast.
Yeah, I'm actually quite glad that I don't have a bike license, because I think the temptation would have been too great, and I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Absolutely. All right, so lots of interesting stuff coming up tonight.
And some cool news that we've got to share with everybody.
Definitely. We've been talking about electric vehicles in a couple of the shows coming up, or the past shows, and it's interesting news coming up.
Yep.
Talking about news, let's get straight into this week's news. Rob Walker joining us in studio. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Rob, so you guys have got a very interesting event coming up on electric vehicles. Why don't you just tell us about what this e-mobility virtual conference in South Africa is all about?
So basically the event is called EMSA, and what it is an opportunity for us to, essentially the bottom line is to try and get information around EVs more publicly available.
Okay.
What we found is that everyone's talking about EVs. Everyone knows Tesla. Everyone knows that EVs are coming.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not, 2030, most of our export markets have banned, ICE engines from coming in.
Yeah.
It's going to be a huge economic thing, and everyone knows the conversation.
Yeah.
But whenever you go and try and find information out about it, you end up with a conference or an event where they want to charge you 2.5, 3, 4, 5,000 rand to go and listen to it. And initially, what ends up happening is those events speak to the converted.
Sure.
So it's people who are in the EV space talking to other people in the EV space, and they're all talking about how EVs are coming. And when COVID hit, we had to look at this event and we decided to take it virtual. And then we really looked inwardly and said, if our goal is to reach as many people as possible, let's make it a free registration.
Okay.
So anyone can register for free. Anyone who's watching, who's interested, who's intrigued, they can register. They go on the website, they can register. And when they register, that means that they can interact with our speakers. So they can then go and ask some questions. So we've got battery experts, we've got charging experts, we've got kind of experts from across the world and across South Africa who are going to be there. And you can ask them your burning questions. However,
we've actually put that website address on the screen for you guys at home watching. So you guys can go to that website and then get all of this information.
Yeah, everything's there. They can just go register for free, and it's there, no problem. And we're also going to make the whole event free to view for anyone for over 12 months. So it'll be on all our social media channels. So even if in 6 months' time, the question of, let me investigate an EV, you go and find the EMSA website, EV Future, and all the videos will be there, and you can literally find out from the world's experts any questions you got.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's quite interesting. I'm very schizophrenic when it comes to EVs.
Sure.
On the one hand, from an engineering and technology point of view, I get it, I understand it, and I even think that in South Africa, we'd pretty much cope very easily with it, and especially if we get the home chargers where you can feed back into your house. I think there is a place for that. So I think, for me, this provides a fantastic opportunity for some of the naysayers and perhaps some of the people that are misinformed to get the proper information behind this and maybe settle a few nerves. Because I think the issue really around EVs is a marketing issue more than a technical issue.
No, it's definitely, it's a messaging issue. Elon Musk does so well because he frames it really well in a nice message, and people can understand what he's talking about. Whereas in South Africa, we haven't got the message across that there is no such thing as range anxiety. All these things that people talk about in terms of the negatives around EVs, they actually don't exist. So we need to get past that point, and our main goal with EMSA is to get the right message out there, make the information freely available so people can make an informed choice. Because at the moment, people are unfortunately making a judgment based on essentially ignorance, and we want to change that.
What are some of the topics that you guys are going to cover at the conference?
So if day one of the conference is basically looking at EVs in South Africa, where we stand currently. So we're talking about current charging infrastructure, we're talking about some renewable solutions, because everyone says, oh, well, Eskom. Yes, we all hear Eskom. But there's opportunities. We have 80% of our days in this country are Sundays. So there's a massive opportunity for solar infrastructure to charge your car. So we're going to be covering a lot of those topics. We'll be talking about what's available in the country, what we can see coming forward. As we move into day two, it'll be more looking into the crystal ball. So what do we think is going to happen? And we've got some international speakers. We've got a gentleman from Australia who's going to be talking about what does he see the future of mobility. So not just next year or the 2 years, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Where do we see the future of mobility going? And this is really where we're going to try and be unlocking some of the questions that what does make EVs viable in South Africa? And ultimately, all our speakers have been asked one simple question to close their session. If they could do one thing to make EVs more viable in South Africa, one thing, what would they do?
Sure.
And they're all going to answer those questions. At the end of the event, you're going to have 14, 15 speakers who are experts, the best of the best, telling us these are the 15 things that South Africa needs to do to move the EV conversation forward in 12 months. And when we get together again in 12 months' time, we're going to hopefully see how many of those things we've managed to achieve.
Sure.
Rob, I mean, is this conference perhaps a bit of a world first? I haven't heard of any other conferences that are freely available to the general public that have these kind of experts on the panels. I mean,
look, from what we know, it is most. At heart, I'm an event organizer. I understand event organizers. You've got to get participants have got to pay. You've got to balance off. But in this new day and age where we've been all got used to virtual events, your input costs are so much less that you can actually put an event on. And we're looking at EMSA not so much as a traditional conference. This is a knowledge sharing opportunity. So you can log on, you can view one speaker that you're interested in and log off.
Sure.
I don't need you there. I would love you to have you there the whole day. But if your specific interest is in what that speaker is talking about, log on, listen to that speaker for half an hour, log off, and continue with your day. So we are trying to break the mold. And I know most people say to me, come on, you can't make it free to register, but why not? If our goal is to reach people and get the message out there, people who are mildly intrigued are not going to pay to register. So the two things have to balance against each other.
Sure.
Okay, so all the viewers at home watching, if you guys have any questions, you can send it through to us and we'll pass it on to Rob and the team.
Yeah, 100%.
And we've also got the website address is right there on the screen. The conference is hosted on the 1st and 2nd of March.
Correct, 100%.
And available on the website?
Available on the website, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and obviously YouTube as well. All the videos will be going post-event. So even if the guys miss the 1st and 2nd of March, they can log on and they can see the content. It's going to be there.
And I've heard a little birdie whisper in my ear that it might be available on Let's Talk Automotive's site as well.
Well, you know, we would love to have it as wide as possible to get as many people to, dare I say, preach the EV Bible to them.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it, I must say. And I think that this is definitely something that our viewers should go and have a look at, because I do think there's a lot of old housewives' tales perhaps that can be cleared up with the experts on hand.
Yeah, 100%.
So well done.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us on the show.
It's a great pleasure, Rob.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, it's time to go and look at that awesome review, the Kawasaki ZH2.
Now everyone's saying it. If you drive less, you pay less for car insurance. But how much less? A tad less. A smidge less. Around 20%-ish less? Or a whole lot less? Like 70% less for comprehensive car insurance from South Africa's hottest pay-per-K insurer, Chili from King Price. We're big into less. Like 70% less. Visit kingprice.co.za for a quote.
Hi and welcome everybody to Let's Talk Automotive. We've been neglecting our motorbikes for the last season. We thought, well, let's start with something scintillating in season 3. What better monster than the ZH2, a supercharged street fighter? But before we get into this bike, let's just think of where it originated from. We had a sequence where the original H2 was a bike that blew the natural world away of biking. It was supercharged, it pushed out 200 horsepower in standard form. They made an R version that ran a quarter mile in 7, 8, 9. It was something ridiculous as a standard production bike. But why stop there? Kawasaki said, let's take this engine, let's strip the fairings off, and let's create something even more insane. We've got a normal LED dash, but I mean, that's become standard on 99% of the bikes. The lean angle sensors here, pretty standard stuff. It's got the balance sensor, which shows where the bike's weight is being distributed. So if you're sliding forward, it obviously moves the bike forward. The little blue tag there. It's prettier, where it shows the boost gauge, your fuel sensors. You can adjust the mode from sport to road to rain, and you can do this pretty effectively. It's got speedo cruise, where you can set and reset with the usual clutch intervention. Overall, the bike's very easy to get into. A lot of the bikes that we've dealt with in this class, the actual technology is not the easiest to get the hang of. But this, it's pretty simple and straightforward. You notice here, blacked out, here the air vent. The H2R, which was the race non-road version, had no light, so the air vent and induction kit went directly to the front end of the engine. Here it's actually quite easily visible, as you can see with the small little grille here. Generally, the bike is very naked. That may sound obvious, but what I'm saying is that everything's exposed to see. This is the whole aspect of street fighters, are that they're raw. They're not there with fairings, they're not there with any other accoutrements, they are there as fighters, street fighters. You're there, you're aggressive, you wheelie, you endo, you do stoppies, and I think this bike in that space will probably dominate if you have the guts to actually use its abilities. And what do we have in this segment? Let's move back a bit. We've got the Aprilia V4 factory, we've got the Ducati V4S, we've got the BMW S1000R, which has received an update, we've got the KTM Super Duke R, all of them incredible bikes. And on paper, the horsepower is pretty similar. But where does your mind sit? I mean, none of them are actually supercharged, which means that the sort of miniature dump valve blow off sound that we get when it sort of slithers out as soon as you roll off the throttle, none of those bikes will give it. They're all in a similar price range. I mean, now the way pricing has increased, you're pretty much stuck anywhere from 280 to 350,000 for one of these little gems. And where has the bike come from? I mean, the H2 originally, way back in 2014-15, although it changed the market, it had its little niggles and challenges. The fueling system was ridiculous. It jerked, it stuttered, it spluttered. Once an exhaust system was put on, if you didn't flash it or put a power commander in, it became a difficult bike to ride. It was easy to manage once you got used to it, but it was ballistic in what it did. Kawasaki, in this new model, changed the aspect of that. They've made the entire fueling systems has been revamped. It's smoother. You can ride around town at that sort of pace quite comfortably. I mean, we can go through this area in third gear at 40 km per hour. There's no issues. It's got an auto blip, so you've got a seamless upshift, downshift. The brakes have been fixed to a great extent, and just generally the bike's caught up with the technology of everywhere else. And what does the bike represent as an everyday occurrence? One of the biggest challenges with the previous gen H2 was the fuel consumption. If you rode it aggressively, you were out in 80, 90 Ks. So the thoughts of a long trip made it impossible to consider. This bike's much better. If you are aggressive, it is thirsty, but not thirsty to the extent that you'll be hunting for a fuel station every 80 or 90 Ks. What's it like to ride? Again, I've mentioned how comfortable it is as a single person. As a pillion, for me, this seat doesn't make sense, because from here, the pillion's going to slide into you every time you move or shift or brake suddenly. I mean, the standard methodologies of pillions, putting their hands here, yes, you can explain it, but I thought a flat seat would have been better. But perhaps the reason they stayed away from that, as it is a street fighter, is that the ZH2 SE, which is the more upright touring version of this, has got a flat seat. So you've got the commuting thing ticked over there. I think with us as commuters, can you use this bike every day? Yes. Challenge, the fairing means that You can't maintain high speeds for a long amount of time because your arm feels strained, your neck and shoulders feel it, but this is not what this bike is built for. It's a point and shoot to go out, have a lot of fun, and just generally be wild. Whew, yeah, that was entertaining at best. You can't really describe the acceleration of a supercharged street fighter. I think there's parts of me, everything's still attached, so I think we're good. But as a recommendation, you can't actually describe this by power. You have to ride it. So I recommend, if you're in the mood to be frightened out of your wits on a bike that is minuscule but ridiculously fast, go and have a look at the ZH2 from Kawasaki. It's probably, in my opinion, probably one of the most incredible super street fighters in this category now that we will ever see. I mean, where else in the world can you ride a supercharged bike except South Africa?
And straight into this week's guest, Wynand van Vuuren, joining us in studio. Welcome.
Thanks, Fanie.
Listen, like you guys saw in that review, there was a lot of King Price branding.
What's that all about,
That's all, yeah.
Mr. Skoltz?
So a little announcement. Thank you very much, King Price, for coming on board as a partner with Let's Talk Automotive and being involved with our reviews.
It's a pleasure, man. How nice is the show, and it's a privilege for us to be part of it.
Thank you very much. So we're not here to talk about our show. We're talking about your show, King Price. Wynand, yeah, tell us a little bit about King Price, and you know, it's just a flippin' amazing success story. You know, we proudly South African story.
Yeah, well, it's Gideon Galloway. You know, just to tell the story quickly. So we sold the first policy in 2012. I can't believe the time went past so quickly. But Gideon Galloway, our CEO, also loves cars.
Yes.
You know, sport cars,
Some classic cars.
Classic cars.
Yes.
He's into that, motorcycles. You know, he's crazy about what you guys are doing here. He said then back in the day, no, we can do it better than the other guys and make insurance, you know, comprehensive and cut out all the nonsense and make it as cheap as possible for the people out there. That is what we did in the 9 years. It's been a success. We've got many cars on the road, and we love insurance. And now, you know, we say it out there, we insure everything: building, business, motor vehicle, sport cars. We're putting a product now together for the classic cars. We must talk about it one day, because the guys are struggling, you know, to get proper insurance on those cars. But that is who we are. We insure everything out there, and we love what we're doing.
One thing that I just want to chip in before we get into the real questions here is that I want to talk about King Price's culture. You know, I was privileged enough to actually visit you guys and be part of your induction for new employees, and do the tour and go through, you know, the building and everything that you guys do there. And we've got some pictures of that, so we'll put that on the screen. But just talk about the unique culture that you guys have bred there at King Price.
So Fanie, so right from the start, Gideon said that it's not just going to be another insurance company. It isn't. If you've seen it, it looks like a media house if you walk in there. We take what we do very serious, but we don't take ourselves serious. You know, so I go in short some days, but we make it as stimulating for the staff, because we believe if you are happy and you like to work there and you like to come to work on a Monday morning, then you're also going to be in the right position to give the real service that we promise our clients. So it is an awesome place, and you guys are welcome.
Just look at what that office looks like.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm on my rollerblades some days there on those paths.
I'd be on my backside if I was on rollerblades in the office.
No, it's very something to behold. It's really.
And different
really
floors have different themes as well.
Yeah, no, completely different. Like the IT guys, we've got a big IT floor, and they've got this army theme there, and so it's really something to come and see. And you can do the tours in the office. People are welcome. They can contact me if you want to bring your business and come and see just what the culture is doing for us. It doesn't have to be in finances. We like to share that with everyone.
I mean, that is incredible. I think what you guys have achieved, if I can very briefly summarize this, is that you have taken a very uncool business environment and a business in total, and made it very zhuzhy.
Exactly.
It's quite incredible, and you can see it obviously in the marketing material that you guys have, and the way that people sort of interact when they're talking to you on the phone. So it's awesome, yeah.
Now, after the companies are bringing their people through, we put them in a spot where they can discuss their own culture and see what they've seen there, how they can implement it again in their businesses. And then we've got a lovely restaurant called Moonshot there on the roof, where you can see over Pretoria and you can treat your staff there. And if you bring your business, I throw in a milkshake for free.
Hey, awesome.
Okay, so we're going to get into some insurance questions. Ultimately, that's what we want to discuss. So, guys, if you at home have some questions about insurance, we'll pop them in the comments and then we can talk about it and put Wynand in the hot seat and see what comes out, because these are sort of prepared, but the ones coming in from the viewers, we'll see what we can do with that. All right, Wynand, so let's kick it off. Pete, we've got some awesome questions for Wynand.
So I think first question, and I think this is pretty applicable at the moment with the backlog in licensing, is if my driver's license has expired or my card has expired, am I still covered if I have an accident?
Very good question. So many people were now in the lockdown time where you couldn't renew your license, worried, can I go onto the road now? My car's written off, will the insurance still pay it? So the short of it is that the reason why the insurance contracts require you to have a valid driver's license is because you don't want to insure someone who can't drive.
Correct.
So if you couldn't renew your license now in the lockdown difficulty or so, or for any other reason, it just expired and you're in an accident, does that make you a worse driver? It doesn't. So then an insurer can't go and reject a claim like that, and the Ombudsman for short-term insurance will also not allow that. It's a different story if you haven't done it for months and there could have been an endorsement on the license on your site or something like that, which could have been material to the accident now that occurred. But otherwise, an insurer can't go and reject a claim like that. King Price pay those claims.
Awesome. And I would maybe extend that question to the vehicle license itself. If I've forgotten to re-register my vehicle and have an up-to-date license disc, am I covered?
Again, so most insurance policies will require that your vehicle is in a roadworthy condition. So now the license disc expired. Is that relevant to this asset that the insurer is now? Is that a higher risk suddenly? It's not. So how can an insurer go, and I know there's some of them out there that will take a chance like that and tell the client, now you don't have cover. People shouldn't allow that. That claim must be paid. It's something else if your tires are not in a roadworthy condition and that caused an accident, but in circumstances like that, you just need to go and license the car again, but an insurer can't repudiate a claim on that basis.
Fantastic. Okay, that's awesome.
So jumping into all of this, because it's sort of related now, and this very unique situation that we find ourselves in with lockdowns and curfews. What happens if I have an accident when I'm not supposed to be on the road in a curfew sort of time?
Yeah, we had that question a lot of times now. People scared again. So now I don't have that certificate as an essential driver.
Yes.
I'm on the road now after 11 and an accident occurred. So insurers again, if you got your first, you must go back to the policy wording. I haven't seen one that stipulates that if you drive after the lockdown hours, you're not going to be covered.
Sure.
And no insurer will be so stupid to put something like that in your policy, because no one would like to insure with you then.
Exactly.
So the comprehensive cover that the insurer gave you included that driving any time of the day.
Sure.
Now, if they haven't endorsed the policy thereafter to exclude cover there, I can't see that they now can go and exclude cover there. King Price pay those claims. We had many of those claims in the lockdown time.
Yeah.
There can be several reasons why someone has to be on the road.
Correct.
If you're late on your way back and you're outside the curfew, it doesn't change anything to the premium that we have determined the client to be paying for his risk driving any time, and therefore it's not fair to reject a claim like that.
Very interesting.
I've got a double barrel question for you, if you don't mind, Wynand. So if I've got an asset that I've paid off, so I own my car now, there's no more finance on it, why should I insure my car?
Yeah, well, if you buy your car and it's financed, it still belongs to the bank, and there in the contract it's written in that you have to have the car comprehensively insured. But now you've paid your last installment, now the car actually becomes yours, you get the papers. Now you're sitting with your 300,000 Rand worth of asset, Why would you, if you stop that premium, and people make the mistake in these difficult times, the debit order for the insurance doesn't go off, and you, in your back of your head, you think that you can catch it up, if something happens for the last 2 months that you haven't paid. That's a big mistake. If that premium didn't go through, you don't enjoy cover for that month or that 30 days that would have been covered by that premium. So people shouldn't make that mistake. If that car's written off or it's stolen, we see theft is in the order of the day in our country. Your 300,000 rand worth of asset is gone, and then you lose it. So why not rather just make sure that that premium is going through, and that if anything happens, you get your car back.
And the second part of that question is, obviously, there are just, I think, way too many people that aren't insured on the roads. And I remember, and I'm giving my age away here, in the 70s and the 80s, third-party insurance was mandatory. It was part and parcel of the registration of your vehicle. That's fallen away, which I think is very sad. But is the insurance industry lobbying government to get third-party insurance to be mandatory again?
The discussion has been on the table for many years. I can actually remember it for 15 years now, that I've also been in the industry and looking at it. It's difficult, you say that many cars on the road are not insured. It's actually more or less 70%.
Wow.
Sure.
So 7 out of 10 of the cars that you see around you does not have an insurance company behind him. Now he drives into your car, you have to go and sue him, and he doesn't have money.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It would be so nice if we could have that in place. The problem is that every time comes up is how's it going to be funded in the petrol price that we pay? How's it going to be administered again? That's a lot of pressure again on the state and getting that right. So the solution is not on the table yet, and I can't see that we will have that in the next few years.
Well, I tell you what, until we get third-party insurance, maybe what we should suggest is that people that aren't insured have a big red sticker on their car so we can drive around.
Stay away. Don't come near me.
So we've got a question that came in, and this is very applicable because it's got to do with the way that you guys advertise. And it says, how many awards have King Price won for their awesome ads? King Price and another chicken franchise are seriously on top of the charge. And now maybe you're not the right guy to answer. Maybe the bet would be, but yeah, have you guys won awesome awards for all these ads that you guys do?
We have, time and again. I can't think of one. Maybe they're right in the beginning where, I don't know if you guys can remember those ads where the guys were sitting on top of one another coming past, didn't make sense. It got the phones ringing.
Yes.
But after that one,
I
I think every one of our ads, were talked about, and we've got many awards on the ads. It's really funny again, in our culture.
Yes.
And the people like it.
There's a tractor in front of your building. Is that the tractor from the ad?
No, that's not the one from the ad.
Okay.
But with the farmer that was
Yes.
dancing, yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, yes.
To a tractor.
Yeah, but with our agri insurance, we've put the tractor there. The tractor is
Yes.
actually driving, and
Amazing.
yeah, we like it.
You guys are also involved heavily, and we had Clint Seller on 2 or 3 episodes ago
Yep.
with racing and extreme, King Price Extreme, off-road racing, cross-country, track racing with the bikes.
Yeah, you see what you guys are doing, you need to have that beautiful motorbike insured. And
Yes.
insurers are scrumming away from it, and for obvious reasons. It's easily, you can easily steal it, and the guys are pushing the limit and you can fall. And so but the thing is, you need an insurer who's willing to help the public and the motorbike lovers to get those motorbikes insured.
I want to jump in there and interrupt you, very sorry about that, but the question there is, and we spoke about this, track days and racing and stuff like that. Do you guys cover racing like that?
So what you can do, even with your car, you can inform us that listen, I want to do this track day, and why now turn your back on your client? We give you permission to go and do the track day. It's under circumstances where that nothing is going to jump in front of the car. You make that driver a better skilled driver out on the road. That is what we give our clients, to make sure that you can help a guy, petrol head, guys who want to get on the motorbike. So Clint is a great guy. We've sponsored the Yamaha team. They're doing very well. And
They've now gone over to the Hondas, right? For this season, I think.
I'm not 100% sure about that.
But yeah,
but it's
amazing.
what a beautiful event, also events to be involved in, and to also create the, to show the public that King Price, if you've got a motorbike, contact us. We want to build a product that is really comprehensive and that's looking after the guys.
Okay, so talking about contacting you guys, I think we've got a SMS number there on the screen for you guys. If you guys would like to get into contact with these guys and get quotes, and trust me, I've been through this process and it's hassle-free and just an awesome experience. So you can SMS to, what does it say there? King to 31452, and these guys will sort you out with your insurance.
So talking about now getting on the phones and contacting the call center, I've got, prior to our relationship, I've still got 2 cars that I've got insured with King Price, have gone obviously through the process of, and in fact my 2 daughters' new cell phones as well.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've gone from just insuring my cars to now everything is going to go through. But one of the questions that I got asked, which at the time I didn't understand, and maybe I still don't, is they asked if they could do a credit check on me.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite weird, because I'm taking out insurance, and surely if I don't pay my premium, you don't pay out the claim, so my credit record shouldn't have any bearing on the policy, right?
Yeah. See, so what happens is, so the data that insurers are using is, if you take that and look at the specific risk. So the days are over where you just look at the value of the item that you want to insure, the car, and now you give a premium on that. We know that the color of the car is playing a role, the distance that you're going to drive. With our new Chili product, if your car's only at home, you can get up to 70% less or discount on your comprehensive premium. So the credit check is something else that insurers learned over the years. If there's that sense of irresponsibility over your finances, for some or another reason, it shows through on you looking after your assets as well. There might be more frequent accidents happening or so. Not you maybe specifically, but the pool in itself, So it's another underwriting criteria that insurers are using, and that's why they've,
all right. Okay, well then I don't feel so bad anymore.
Something interesting that you spoke about before the show was with regards to tracking devices and dash cams in your cars. I'm sure that you guys, get a lot of questions around, if I have a dash cam in my car, or if I have a tracking device in my car, will that, lower my insurance premium, and why if it does?
So definitely a tracking device, they find the car 9 out of 10 times if it's stolen, so that is helping. If it's an early warning, or you let the company know quickly that your car is stolen, so that will definitely give you on your theft portion of your premium a discount. Many people don't want device to be installed in the car, and there we also give you the cover. We give you full theft cover on that, maybe for a little bit of an adjustment on the theft premium, but that is also a possibility at King Price. Then the dash cam, that's not always going to work in your favor. That might show that you're the one that went through the red light. Luckily your insurance cover you whether you were in the right or wrong. So some people think, listen, so I went through the red light and I was busy with the radio or on my cell phone, a big problem in our country. I actually think worse than drunken driving.
Absolutely.
I agree.
People on the phone, you see it if you're on the road, you see cars going from behind.
I had exactly that yesterday on my bike on the way home. A lady went from the left lane across in front of me to the right lane, and she was busy driving on her phone. She was texting, driving, and went from over 3 lanes in front of me.
Yeah, no, it's very dangerous. But to close it off, if you got a dash cam and you're a very responsible driver, that can show that when you're in an incident like that, and that makes the recovery a lot easier for the insurer, or show your your contribution to the guilt and the whole accident, so that can count in your favor.
I mean, I would also imagine, just on that topic, I've got a dash cam in my vehicle, and ultimately what it does for me is, because I know it's being streamed live, bikes, and you do a whole range of products, as you said earlier. I think maybe something else that's relevant for what we're going through at the moment with load shedding is the impacts that having generators at home powering up all of our appliances might have on the insurance on those appliances.
Well, Peter, there are two factors. Make sure that it's included in it. That generator is now included in your contents cover, if it's loose standing or if it's fixed to your building cover, so that if something happens, if it burns out or it's stolen or something like that, you've got the cover for that. They're expensive. Then on the other side is don't install it yourself if you're not a electrician. Make sure that you get it done by the right people, so that if there's a fire or something going wrong, you're not the guilty party. You might see contracts out there that will say, listen, if you played the electrician there and you burn the house down, then you might not enjoy cover. So make sure that it's installed correctly.
Okay, awesome.
That's it. Thank you very much for coming in and joining us tonight on Let's Talk Automotive. It was amazing having you.
Pleasure, nice being with you guys.
Definitely not the last time.
Great.
Thanks very much, Wynand.
So guys, let's move on to our next segment, and this is a little bit of a surprise for you, I think, Wynand. So we're going to have game time. All right, so this is absolutely my favorite part of the show, because Peter has now won 3 times in 36 episodes. So
And the last time I won was 2 weeks ago, and it's rained non-stop since. So
yes.
you can thank the guys
That's
later.
a sign.
So keeping true to tradition, what I've done is I've taken some of the most expensive cars to insure. Okay. But it's in the world, so it's pretty easy, guys. It's not too difficult. So what we're going to do, Wynand, is we're going to show you a partial picture of a car on the screen right there.
Okay.
If you recognize the car, shout your name, and then I'll come to you, and then
So
you
my
give me
name,
the
not the car.
No,
Okay.
shout your name, then I'll come to you, and you give me the answer. There's 7 cars, and best out of 7 between you and Peter wins.
Okay.
Let's see how this goes. I know that you're a big car fan. Right, so here comes the first one. Name?
Peter.
Okay, Peter, you can try and get a head start.
That is a
The hubcap and the wheels.
Bentley
Yes, it's a
Continental
yes.
GT.
Well done. Peter has got 1 point. Just look at that.
Oh, and it's even got a 1 on there, so that's my only point that I'm going to get.
But what a nice car, eh?
So what premium could you get on that?
I don't want to know what the premium would be on that.
Yeah.
What is the? I remember when I used to do a lot of work in the Middle East, just to cut in here, and they used to have a rule of thumb that the car insurance there, and I know it's not the same here, but the car insurance there was 5% on average of the value of the asset. Here it seems lower.
Yeah, it's completely different. So it's not relative to the value of the car only. So the value can go up, but it can be a lot easier to.
I think Peter's trying to get us off topic because he's scared. he's scared of this game. All right, guys. So you guys at home can also play along. If you recognize the car, just pop your answer into the comments below. Here's the second one.
Wynand.
Yes, Wynand. What is that?
That must be a BMW. Which one? The 8 electric one.
Absolutely, I'm going to give it to you. The i8.
i8, yes.
I'm seeing a lot more of these cars on the road. So,
and
it's a beautiful
just
car.
Exquisite. I mean,
It's a
if
beautiful
all electric
car.
cars could look like that, I'm in.
All right, it's all tied up, 1 each. Here comes the third one.
Peter.
What is that, Pete?
It's a Maserati.
Yeah, I don't know the model.
Yeah, I'm stuck on the model as well.
Okay, so both of you said it's a Maserati. So can I give you guys half a point each
I'll take
to make
that.
it fair? Okay, well done. This is the Grand Turismo.
Of course.
Beautiful.
All right, guys, here comes the fourth one.
Wynand.
Yes, really, Wynand.
Ooh.
If you get this, I'm very impressed. I was going to say, this is quite difficult. Fritz was a bit naughty, yeah? What do you think it is?
It looks like an Audi, but I can't say what model.
So you've got half a point already?
If I can guess the model,
No.
Peter.
You can't. Just switch off his
Peter?
mic.
I'm going to guess the model.
Okay.
All right.
No.
Close.
It's got too much of a coupe
No, it's
shape
not
to it, so
Yeah?
I'm going to say the RS7.
Okay, half a point each again. Well done.
Beautiful.
Beautiful car. Very interesting for me that car was on the list of top 10 most
Well,
expensive
it must
cars.
be the profile of the driver that buys an RS7. Just saying. Hope
Okay,
you
the
don't drive
next-
an RS7.
The next one is very, very easy. Wynand, so please, is Peter's mic off? Okay, and here comes number 5.
Peter.
No, man, Peter.
That looks like a... new
No,
BMW
no,
M3.
no, it's not.
The
Wynand,
M3.
what did you say it was?
M3.
Yes.
Yeah,
said
M3.
Wynand's got it right. He's got the M3.
Just look at those mags. Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful car. Okay, so what's the point here? It's 3-2 at the moment. Yes, with 2 to go. So here's a little tip. Can you remember the first car? The Bentley?
Yes.
Can you remember that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here comes the next one, number 6.
Peter.
Yeah,
Duh.
Yeah.
Bentley, but I don't know that model.
It's also Continental.
Yeah?
And it's
So Peter's obviously
it's-
quite a big
it's
fan
a
of Bentley.
GTC.
You're absolutely correct, Peter. Okay, so this is what is it now, Pete?
3-all.
3-all with 1 to go.
Sure.
So it all comes down to the wire. Oh, Marius
I
Lange
hope the
also
rain
got
is
it
not going
right.
to continue for another 2 weeks.
Stephen Lombard had Jaguar. Unfortunately, not Stephen. Let's check the guys at the. Yes, Marius got Bentley Continental, but he didn't say GT or GTC, so he gets half a point. All right, you guys ready? The last one. The last one is difficult. The last one is difficult. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Look at this on the front edge of the seat.
I mean, this is see for
And go.
serious. Ooh.
Wynand.
What is that, Wynand?
It's a Bugatti.
Yes. Yes, but do you know which one?
Man, I heard a bird that it can be the Devo.
Yes. Yes. Okay. The Bugatti Diva.
I think I only deserve half a point.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. What
Lekker.
always fun playing game time.
Well,
Thank you very much.
At least now we've got some sunshine coming our way.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Wynand, thanks for joining us. It was an honor having you.
Thank you
you so
guys.
much,
Thanks
yeah.
for the invite.
All right, let's get on to our next segment and into tonight's segment on how things work. Professor Peter, explains how the rotary engine works. And this segment is proudly brought to you by Suzuki Auto South Africa.
Welcome to Let's Talk Automotive, and in this episode on how things work, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite automotive pieces of technology, the rotary engine. Now, most of you are familiar with our traditional piston-driven internal combustion engines, but I've always been amazed at how engineers have stuck with what is essentially an archaic design. When we consider the forces at play to reverse the direction of a piston, we lose so much mechanical efficiency. In fact, a piston of a high-performance car would launch into space if we could release it at top dead center. Lucky I'm not alone in my thinking, and German engineer Felix Wankel designed a rotary engine that carries his name. He perfected his design in the 50s, and by the early 60s, we started to see the first attempts at using the engine in production cars. So what makes a rotary engine so special? Well, for starters, we don't need to have as many moving mechanical parts such as valves and camshafts and timing belts. Indeed, the whole cylinder head we don't need. This makes the rotary engine about half the size of its equivalent piston engine. Secondly, the engine doesn't have to have a reverse in direction. It just keeps rotating while developing more and more power. So what is the basic layout of the Wankel engine? Well, firstly, we have the rotor, which is a triangular-ish shape to it. The rotor sits inside a housing and rotates around a gear or a pinion, which is attached to the housing. And this gear regulates the movement of the rotor in the correct path. The rotor, in turn, now spins an eccentric output shaft, which is what transfers the torque from the engine in a similar way to a crankshaft, but in a unique way, which we'll explain a little later. So let's have a look at how all these things come together to create the magic. Just like a piston engine, the rotary engine is based on the Otto cycle. And that is, it has an intake, compression, combustion, and an exhaust cycle. So let's start with the intake. As the edge of the triangle shape passes the start of the intake port, it starts to create a vacuum which draws in the air-fuel mixture into the chamber that is being created. When the peak of the triangle passes the intake port, it seals the chamber, and we are now able to create compression as the rotor continues its rotation. When compression reaches its peak, two spark plugs create combustion of the air-fuel mix. And this is because the combustion chamber is what we call long, and we need the 2 spark plugs to ignite the fuel as quickly as possible. With only 1 spark plug, combustion would simply be too slow to produce any power. The expansion of the combusting air-fuel mixture continues the rotor's motion around the housing. Power is produced until the peak of the rotor passes the exhaust port, at which point the exhaust gases are now pushed out. As the exhaust gases are being pushed out at another part of the triangle, the rotor is now starting to pull in another set of air-fuel mixture, just as it's finishing the exhaust cycle. In fact, as one side of the triangle is drawing the air-fuel mix in, the second is creating combustion, and the third is venting the exhaust. And the cycle continues until, well, we switch the engine off. So we achieve all 4 cycles in one rotation of the rotor, unlike our piston engines, which achieve this with 4 strokes of the piston, or with a minimum of 3 cylinders to achieve the same in one rotation. Some designs even use 2 rotors in the same housing to complement each other. So as one of the rotors is entering the combustion cycle, the other is about to enter, creating an even, consistent flow of power which drives the output shaft. The output shafts, as we mentioned earlier, is what is known as an eccentric shaft, as it has lobes that are mounted off-center of the shaft. And each of the rotors is mounted on one of these lobes, so that as each lobe rotates, it in fact causes the shaft to rotate 3 times for every rotation of the rotor. And this is why we get such insanely high revving rotary engines. Now, as with our previous segment on how power and torque works, power describes the rate at which we produce torque. So in a high revving engine, such as our rotary, we don't need to produce a lot of torque to achieve massive amounts of power. And to add to the awesome power of the rotary engine, we can even stick a turbo on. And because they are high revving engines, we eradicate most of the turbo lag. Talk about a win-win. So with the rotary engine, we have less moving parts, and instead of multiple cylinders, we only have 1 housing that takes up half the space. But there are some negatives. Firstly, because of the long nature of the combustion chamber, we can't always burn off all the fuel. And so some is actually expelled through the exhaust. Now, this can be seen as advantage by some because it does create some cool flames through the exhaust, but it does add to the fuel consumption and emissions of the rotary engine. And secondly, the oil that is used to lubricate the housing is also burnt off when it gets too hot, further adding to the problems of the emissions. And then there, of course, are the apex seals, which have always been a challenge in terms of failure. Now, the seals fail due to different temperatures experienced throughout the housing. You can imagine you've got a cool part of the housing on the intake, you've got a hot part of the housing where combustion takes place, and to a lesser degree, heat where the exhaust is. And this is all happening at the same time, and so we have different temperature coefficients of expansion with the materials. There is also the problem of a buildup of carbon as a result of combustion, which damages the seals. I have to say, though, that with the use of exotic materials and thermal protection from extreme temperature variations, as well as ceramic seal design, this has made the rotary engine extremely reliable. Sadly, the high emissions remain a challenge and have ultimately resulted in the demise of the rotary engine, which is sad because if we use hydrogen as a fuel source, the rotary engine essentially becomes a zero-emission engine. And how radical would that be? So let's hold thumbs that there is maybe a move towards the use of hydrogen as a fuel source. So that concludes our segment on how rotary engines work, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode of Let's Talk Automotive.
Peter, that was simply amazing, and really I had so much fun filming this because that is seriously cool technology.
I love it. It is, like I said, one of my favorite pieces of tech in a car. Such a pity it didn't become mainstream.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yes, it's clever.
It is.
Like
it is.
if you think about the normal piston engine that we know and the 4 cycles and what that thing does, it's really, it makes a lot of sense. But to think of that must have been Oak must
Clever
have been
boys, eh?
Yeah, he must have been smoking something. All right, so we're almost at the end of the show, and we've got one thing left, and that's all we want to do is just have a lekker laugh. And this is the Tappet of the week, and this oak is leaving the dealership with his new car, and I think it was a Ford Mustang, if I'm not mistaken. So let's have a look at this week's Tappet of the week.
Okay, so that's obviously not the car.
That's not the one. You'll see now.
Oh, but I
Yeah.
can see what
Check the dealership
precedent
here
has
on
been
the
set.
right hand side. Somebody said, "Come and check my new car, boys." Peter, I don't know why, but I just really enjoy these videos.
What did Wynand say about this accident? I see the paperwork is already flying around.
Yes, the paperwork is flying around, and that sort of made me check at the wind, taking all the papers that came out of that boot. I'm pretty sure that oak, Murphy's Law, had him drive into a lawyer, and all that paperwork that flew out the back there was that lawyer's work. Just made it worse.
Very anal, but anyway, well-deserved Tappet of the week.
That's
We
it.
really need to find out where all these people come from. So, I'd encourage the viewers, if they do know somebody, we've only got 6 degrees of separation.
Absolutely.
We've got to send these guys their awards.
Yes, and we also can ask the viewers if you have any of those funny clips that you'd like us to share. You can send it to us, and we'll put it on Tappet of the Week. Yeah, please don't make new ones. Well, yeah, you mustn't be involved. You can film something, but don't make new ones for us. We'll really enjoy it to also share those. That's it. Let's Talk Automotive, episode 36 over and done with.
And looking forward to next week.
Yeah, we'll be back here next week, same time, same place. Have a safe week.